Okay, everyone, welcome to the Bowls of Life podcast. I'm Virginia.
And I'm Tyler. As we've gone through life, we've learned something important.
Life is messy. There are a lot of armchair experts out there who will try to tell you how to make life simple.
It's not. So you won't find any here. Instead, you'll find everyday people who have jumped into the mess of life and are making an adventure of it. Nailed that thing.
Nailed it!
We didn't nail our high five, but we definitely nailed the intro. And we don't always do that, especially when we swap them around a little bit there. So,
Good job, Tyler.
Yeah, good job, us.
So who do we have today?
Who do we have today? Well, we've got Tyler and Virginia. Aren't we enough?
The important ones.
I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like I should be enough for you, and you shouldn't need other people to be here. People are laughing in the background, so I guess we should talk about who we have hanging out with us. It is our friends Tim and Lane Howard. Virginia, how do we know Tim and Lane Howard?
That's a great question.
And someday we'll be able to give you a clear answer. The one we discussed before we hit record was something about Tim and I slept in a bed together or something. It was weird.
Shared a bed.
Yeah. Yes.
A mutual friend somewhere along the way got us connected. They came to our wedding.
Yes. Not the mutual friend, Tim and Lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mutual friend, Jeff.
He officiated the wedding, as a matter of fact.
All right,
Yes.
Who do we have?
Who do we have?
Oh,
Tim and Lane Howard. I said that. Pay attention. Be a part of the podcast with us, Virginia.
I'm sorry.
All right, Tim, Lane, say hello.
What is up, everybody?
Hey.
Yeah! Woo!
Either one of you said hello. You are terrible at instructions.
No, that was so good, though.
Cool.
It's like
Good.
we actually have people here listening.
Yes, which is sometimes difficult because it's just Virginia and I yelling at each other and talking over each other. We definitely talk over each other. Cool. Well, we want to kick off with a segment we call Rapid Fire Questions.
No.
There's good sound effects every time, babe. I love it.
So good at it.
Are you going first with rapid fire questions?
Yes, okay. I don't know why we have a list there because I am going to ask Lane some questions. All right. First thing that comes to your mind. Disney World or Universal Studios?
Oh, Disney World, by far.
By far. Okay. How about this? What's your favorite Disney movie?
The Little Mermaid, hands down.
We're best friends. Okay.
Did we just become best friends?
Okay, who's your second favorite? This is the tell.
That's really hard just because Ariel sits at such a high level for me.
Answer the question.
You can mind your own business. But the best one that comes underneath Ariel is probably going to have to be Belle.
Okay. I like it. Pocahontas is my second.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so I just watched Beauty and the Beast the other day, the live action. I'd already seen it, but I was watching it again. Very good choice. Emma Watson.
Yeah.
She's fabulous.
God, so
All right, next question. Who's your favorite Disney sidekick?
Oh, man.
That's a good question.
I really don't know. I'm that Disney fan that doesn't really know. I don't know.
Love
I
Disney.
guess Sebastian.
Okay.
Solid pick.
Loner.
Jamaican
Pretty
accent.
awesome, but-
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so pineapple on your pizza or no?
Oh, heck no. That's weird.
I love pineapple pizza.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry
And
that
y'all
your
are
marriage
house divided.
is now.
Yeah, we are.
I didn't even know he liked pineapple on his pizza.
I do.
Wow. Y'all are gonna have
the
to go.
sacrifice you're making for your marriage, Tim. I appreciate that.
You know, I feel like that's very selfless. Thank you. That's
Are you kidding me? How many times have I eaten bagel bites for dinner?
that's true. also a true point.
Wait,
Also-
that is also a sacrifice for your marriage.
Yes.
So good. Any more for Lane?
All right, let's see. I like to ask this one every time. Who's your favorite Jonas brother?
I'm probably gonna have to go with Nick because I just think he's a literal babe.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Such the wrong answer, but anyways.
And we'll let you say your answer, Tim. Tyler, take it away.
All right, Tim, let's start with the most important question of your entire life. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys?
Oh my gosh. You gave oh my goodness. Oh my NSYNC.
NSYNC. All right, is it because of J, Tim?
Oh man, I'll tell you, I think Justin Timberlake holds up well currently. I think if there's a guy I had to hang out with, it'd be Justin. And I find myself going back to their songs more, even though Larger Than Life is still a bop.
It is. That it is. All right. Brush your teeth in the morning, at night, or both?
Both. And I have to have a Listerine mouthwash, or it's
It's a
not
non-negotiable.
It's a non-negotiable.
Man, look at you. Way to go.
Mom.
Proud of you.
I will be going to the store if we're out of Listerine.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
You have a clean mouth. Good to know.
All right. Let's see. Your favorite Disney character?
Oh my gosh. Depends the mood I'm in. Man, I've really been on the last couple times. Man, I don't know.
Favorite.
I know Hercules is definitely my favorite, but if I had to pick a villain, it's Gaston.
Oh, absolutely. No one runs like Gaston. No one catches like Gaston. I mean,
Oh yeah, that's good.
it's a solid song. If for no other reason, you love him for the song.
I think Beauty and the Beast soundtrack gets better as you get older. I
Okay.
think it hits the line. Anyway, go. Anyway,
I can roll
it's
with
not here nor there. You know, it's whatever.
In a very different lane or direction, not your wife. Very different direction. I made a joke. Love it. Favorite Office character?
Oh man.
Favorite.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go off the wall here.
Hit me.
I'm going with Robert California.
Oh, dude. I can get on board with Robert
Me and Lane.
California. I can get on board.
Dumbest
No,
answer
that is
you've ever
not
had.
because Andy Bernard is such a bad boss, but Robert California keeps it just crazy enough. Just saying.
Yep.
That's
Okay,
on
if
that.
anybody could have seen Lane in my face when that happened.
I mean, we
Both
have to pick
were
our
like-
job off the ground.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
James
hate him.
Spader, though, man, it's hard to beat him.
Yeah, which by the way, you like The Blacklist, which is James Spader.
I know, but
So
that's a totally different
no,
character.
it's not.
Kevin
He
is
plays
the best
no,
character.
he plays the same role. It's the same thing. Anyways,
Here you go.
it's my rapid question time, not yours. Thank
I'm
you
pretty
very
sure you
much.
watched my whole rapid
I
time.
did. I did.
All right, final question for you, Tim. Who is your favorite Beatle?
Oh my! I was so prepared for the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah, that's why I didn't ask it.
Do you remember when you told me to just answer the question?
But I was prepared to answer Joe like the whole dang time.
Joe?
I'm gonna go Paul.
Okay, I can accept it. Cool.
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
But Joe Jonas is the best Jonas brother, just so everyone's aware. Okay, moving on.
You're wrong. Nick is, but
Yeah, well, you know, Joe carries the band, and Nick's the one who broke them up. But that's all right. Yeah, whatever.
So what truly is Kevin?
Kevin.
what's Kevin even doing with his life?
Yeah, I'm going to sit this conversation out. I didn't even know all three of their names until we started doing this podcast.
The more you know. You know what
It's
I'm
my
saying?
favorite question because I used to drive through my little hometown with my little Corolla, blaring the Jonas Brothers,
What's your favorite Jonas Brothers song?
burning up.
Come on.
Oh, that's a good
Come
one.
on now.
Good
When you look me in the eyes, that always.
It's that in High School Musical that makes you actually romantic.
Yeah, it's true.
And there's insight into Tim Howard for everyone.
That's all you need to know, people. That's all you need to know.
Okay, done.
All right, we got some fun stuff in. Now I want to hear Tim describe Lane to me in 2 sentences.
We didn't prepare you for this, so
Yeah, I would probably, you're like leaning in to see what I answer. I would probably describe my wife as probably one of the most aggressive competitors I have ever come into contact with. Dog. It's true. And second of all, probably the most compassionate, servant-hearted person I know as well.
I'm glad you recovered from the first one.
All right.
All right, Lane. 2 sentences. Tell us.
Oh, to put Tim into 2 sentences is really hard.
Yeah.
So Tim is probably the most intentional student pastor I have ever seen in my life. I mean, this is a comma. He goes after students like it's nobody's business. And I think that's what made me fall in love with him at the first time we were together. And then my second sentence would be the fact that he puts on this persona that he's this tough guy, but really deep inside, he is such a sweet and sensitive soul, even though he doesn't want people to know.
All right. Well, that was fun on the podcast, everyone. That was good.
Everybody knows. Well, speaking of that, when you first saw him and you fell in love, how did you 2 guys meet?
Okay. We were both working for a church in Woodstock and
Which is in what state?
in Georgia.
Okay.
And so he was working in the high school guys ministry and I was working in the middle school girls ministry. And I think both of us just kind of fell in love with how each of us did ministry together. And how we kind of had the same heartbeat for kids. We just believed in them, we loved them, and we chased after them. And so I think there's a little more to the story, but we'll just keep it to the sweet side.
You know, guys, love takes a lot of turns. Were there people that were dating other people in the scenario? Sure. But, you know, when there's always a champion in the story. And there was one that withstood what's the word I'm looking for? Just the obstacles that they had to climb and dig, and just knowing that on the other side of it, she does care about you, Tim. Just hang out, just keep at it. But yeah, no, it was like
Needless to say, I broke up with the guy and I met Tim and we got married.
yeah, we started dating like a week after, and the rest is sort of history.
We technically weren't supposed to be dating because we were working together,
Mhm.
but that whole like very assertive person that I am,
Mhm.
I sat down with our
Yep.
boss and I was like, listen, we're going to date.
Yep, that happened.
Period.
Yep.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Oh man, I love ministry stories where people are like, yeah, we started this summer ministry thing, and rule number 1 is you can't date. And I was like, no problem. And 20 seconds later, it was like we were getting married. No, that's perfect. I love it. I knew you guys had met in some ministry, something or another, but I really didn't actually get to know all of those details because as good of friends as we are, we very much don't actually know each other, and it's the weirdest thing, and I love it.
You shared a bed, but you don't know.
Yeah, and just so and I wanted to clear that up, just so everyone knows. We're D now leaders, people. It's what people.
You slept on one side, I slept on the other
we were
side.
watching. I don't even know what grade of guys we were supposed to be teaching and leading that week.
Tim, I thought you wanted people to know this.
No, I do, but I just want people to know we were leading out the calling of Jesus in our lives together. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, I appreciate the clarity, man. It helped.
Yeah. There might be a
Transparency is
listener
key.
that was really confused. Sorry about that, guys.
Oh gosh. Oh no.
Close friends. And
Yeah, close friends despite the fact we haven't met. Lane, as a matter of fact, we have literally only met in person one time at Virginia and I's wedding. That's
Yeah.
right. And so we just love to get to know you a little bit. Help us get to know Lane Howard.
Oh gosh. Okay, my favorite color is green.
Mm.
I could probably eat Chick-fil-A every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and probably not get tired of it just because it's the Lord's chicken and it like revives my soul.
Yeah.
I grew up with 4 brothers, so I'm pretty rough around the edges at times. I am very competitive. I love card games. I love to beat people in card games. I think that is so much fun. We don't really play like games together just because I'm super competitive. I do not have a green thumb whatsoever, so I kill every plant that ever comes alive. I genuinely feel like I love people very deeply. That can be like a strength and a weakness, honestly. I think pretty much it. I love ministry. I think that's the one thing that like we both believe is like the forefront of our marriage is like we just do ministry together because we love it. And we feel like that's what God's called us to. So even if it's not a title as my job, I will always do ministry and I will always strive to love the people that are in Tim's ministry and the people that serve in it as well.
Good stuff. So I actually trolled your Facebook a little bit to make sure I'd have some good questions to ask.
They stalked you.
Yeah, stalk is maybe the right word. And I saw this post in there about not throwing away Chick-fil-A sauce like ever. And there was no context to it. And so I'm really curious what that's about.
So when we got married and we moved to Kentucky to a little bitty town called London, if you don't know where it is exactly, and they did not have a Chick-fil-A, but like everybody in London loved Chick-fil-A and like we loved Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
So every time we would go like 45 minutes or an hour to the Chick-fil-A that was the closest to us, we would always bring back sauce. And like we would use it with like McDonald's or Wendy's.
All
like
the above.
we would just act like we were eating Chick-fil-A. So we kept all the sauce. So now that we're in Arkansas and we have all these Chick-fil-A's like down the street, I feel so guilty for my London people that I just can't like functionally throw it in the trash. Like I put it in my purse if I get it to go and I have too much sauce and I bring it home.
Yep.
So you have a pantry or a drawer somewhere in your kitchen that is full of Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yes.
It's in our fridge currently.
I actually keep a lot of the sauces. I'm a pretty saucy kind of person. Like I have to have sauce to eat my food. So I keep all the extra sauces in our fridge.
We stay lost in the sauce, as the kids say.
Do the kids say that, Tim?
No. No.
Okay.
No.
What's your favorite Chick-fil-A sauce? We should have asked that. Rapid fire.
Oh, Chick-fil-A sauce.
Okay, so the Chick-fil-A sauce.
Tim, you shook your head.
No, no, it's true. It's just embarrassing the amount.
Oh, okay.
You know they sell it now, like in a bottle.
Yeah, we have bottles.
It's gone. We
Gone.
ate it all.
There you go.
Okay. So, I forgot what I was going to say. It had to. Oh, Polynesian sauce. I like that one. How do y'all feel about that one?
It's in my fridge.
I like it. I have to be in the mood, though. It's like Sprite for me. Like, I have to be in the mood for Sprite. It's like not something I'm going to get all the time. What are you looking at me like that?
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, Tim's weird, so.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
All right, so we rapid fire questioned you a lot about Disney, and that's because we know you both love Disney World and Disney. Disney World probably more than even Disney itself. So why do you guys go like 37 times a year?
Man, that's a great question. If we figure that out, we'll let you know. No. So as a child, I went a couple times. She never went. And we went for our honeymoon, and it was all really hot. If you can imagine Florida in July. But
We got married in
August, sorry. Whatever. July, August. It's the same thing in Florida. And we're like, well, let's try it one more time because it's, Disney World. And then we went again, and it was really probably the best trip we went on. So, yeah, we're annual pass holders, so we can go whenever we want. I feel so much judgment when I say that, but it's better to speak my truth. But really, why we enjoy it so much is, and Lane says this when people ask, it's just an opportunity for us to we don't disconnect unless we're forced to. And being in Disney World, you're forced to because you're always doing something. And like going on a ride or being in a show or eating at a restaurant or whatever. And it's just something that helps us disconnect and actually spend one-on-one time together with 50,000 people of your 50,000 of your closest friends. But also, like, and I'll let Lane answer the next part. I personally enjoy Disney just because of their excellence in their drive to make sure every single person that walks in their gates feel important and special and have a magical moment. Like Lane said, I'm big on intentionality, and I'm big on people feeling like they're heard and mattered and seen. And it's crazy because Disney World's probably top 3 tourist place in the world, and they still allow avenues and spots where every single person that walks in feels like, oh my goodness, Disney cares about me because of this. And it's just something that I've really appreciated about what they do.
I think for me, the biggest thing is like, it's a time where Tim's walls come down and we get to just be us for a little bit. And we get to kind of be invested into and poured into. Not that that doesn't happen throughout the year, but it's kind of like our sanity, you know, as much as we pour out and we're ministering, like we kind of get to flip the switch off for a little while and like take a deep breath, which is just refreshing.
I like that walls come down thing, because that's difficult in ministry for sure. You may work a 9 to 5 or whatever, but it's a 24/7 thing. It's something you're constantly thinking about. I know in this past COVID social distancing season, or I say past, we're living in it. But when our church was in the process of getting ready to reopen, there was a night where there was so much rolling through my head of all the precautions we needed to take. I think Virginia and I laid down in bed and cut the lights off, and I laid there for about 30 minutes, and I went, nope, this isn't going to happen. So I got up and wrote like a 2-page thing on all the precautions and how we were going to take them and how people were going to enter and exit our building. So I get that walls need to come down part of getting away for sure. So that's cool that you guys have that thing that y'all know when you go there, like, you're not doing ministry, you're just being you guys together. That's awesome.
Yeah, and in any career path or, place, season of life or whatever, like it's good to unplug, disconnect from the world, take a sabbatical, even if it's just for a week or whatever, and have fun and rest.
Yep.
That's awesome. I like that Disney is y'all's place.
We're going in 30 days. Let's go, people. Woo!
Sorry. So I'm sorry for whoever's ears that was just in.
Nah, don't worry about it.
The excitement is real. But yeah, I think we want to hear a little bit about your ministry kind of world and calling that you guys are in right now. So we're going to take a quick second for a break, and then we're going to come back and hear your story. All right, and we're back. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about when you were called to student ministry, because both of you, like, this is not a Tim thing, okay? This is a Tim and Lane. So, when, how, what happened, what brought you to this calling of student ministry? And Lane, we can start with you.
So, it was my senior year of high school, and I just really wasn't sure like where God had me going after. And it was probably like April. So leave it to a high school student to totally procrastinate as to where they're supposed to go in August. But then a girl came to the church and was kind of talking about how like she had gone on this mission trip for a year and just kind of fell in love with the Lord. And I was like, man, like, you know, when you get like that beating inside your heart and you're like, okay, God, like, stop. No, like, rewind. We're not going to do this. And then I called my mom and I was like, Mom, like, I really think this is what I'm supposed to do. And she was like, no, I don't think you're going out of the country. And I was like, no, I really think this is what God has for me. And she shared with me, she said about 4 years ago when you were a freshman in high school, they came to youth group and talked about these things. And after that night, I stood in front of the sheets at Marshall's and I was like, Lord, like, if this is what you have for her, let me be okay with it. And so she called me back a couple hours later and she was like, you know what? Okay, let's do it. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah. And so I called the people who were over it, and we were actually a little too late to sign up for it, obviously. But he said, you know what? If this is what you feel like the Lord has for you and you can raise $10,000 in order to go, you can go. And so I looked at my mom and I was like, you know what? Like, if we raise the $10,000, like, it's just a sign from the Lord that this is what we're supposed to do. And I'm telling y'all, within a month and a half, $10,000 came quick. And I was like,
Wow.
okay, God, this is it. You know, like, I'm going to go. I'm going to trust you. And so I went and lived in El Salvador for about a year. And when I came back, I just didn't feel like going into a job was what God had for me. And I didn't really know what that meant. But I don't sit still very well either. And so I just went to the student pastor at Woodstock, who was actually my pastor when I was in youth group. And I was like, hey, I just want to serve. Like, what can I do to serve your ministry? And he was like, well, I mean, we have these internships here, but technically you're supposed to be like 22 and I was 19. And I was like, well, I was like, if you feel like that's where you want me, like, and he was like, let me sit down and kind of like talk about it and think through it. And I remember sitting like in the staircase, like right outside the offices of the student ministry. And I was like, Lord, like, please just close the door if this is not where I'm supposed to be. And I went back in there and he was like, you know what, let's try. And so it actually just kind of just fell into my lap in a sense, which is kind of how God does things sometimes. So that's pretty cool. And when you look back on it, you can see how God like created and formed my heart to love serving people and to love coming alongside of people. And I remember when I was sitting down with my parents and I was like, hey, I'm going to school for religion. And they were like, no, you're not. And I was like, yes, I am. That's what God called me to. And I feel like that's what I need to fall in. And at that point is when I met Timothy and we fell in love and did ministry together. And it was awesome.
Oh, that's so good. I had no idea that you had spent a year in El Salvador. Tell me a little bit about that. What'd you do? What was the experience like?
So we worked with an orphanage every week. And then we also worked with a prison ministry of guys who were former like gangs or in prison because of, felonies, and they'd given their lives to the Lord. And we went and worked with them in a shoe shop to teach them job ethics and how you do a job and how you gain that work mentality so that when they went back to their families, they could make money. So while doing that, we got to kind of minister to them and to love on them. And then in the orphanages, we got to just be a part of those kids' lives and let them have one person that they felt like just loved them and cared for them. And in that, we also helped build up a church. So when they were planting a church there, we helped with the worship and we helped organize and we took attendance and kind of was like the inner workings of the small church there. And then we took Bible classes with this Hispanic teacher who was just so good at like explaining scripture to us, and it was just refreshing. So
that's good. That's
really cool.
Yep. I love the prison ministry with shoe shop thing. Like, that's just so unexpected and interesting. That's good stuff.
And it's a little different because it was more of a like a discipleship than like evangelical kind of thing. Like, you were discipling those men, and then also just like teaching them how to provide for their families, which is a little different than what most mission trips are like.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Tim, if you didn't raise 10,000 and teach prisoners how to make shoes and work ethic, your story's really going to pale in comparison. But we're going to listen to your story anyway.
Yeah.
So when I was born in Montana and my parents left me, and the wolves, I was raised by a pack, and no. Man, I wish, because my pastor celebrity, like my pastor, like superheroes out there right now. Levi, let's go.
Fair enough.
You're listening.
Yeah, hey, if you're listening, Levi, I'll come work. Just give me a ring.
Definitely one of our 80 podcast listeners.
Come on, Levi. I'm committed to cross church, but anyways, no. It was not that. I mean, it was just it's as simplistic as I was 13, and basically the Lord's. It's kind of a Jeremiah moment, just kind of like, man, this is you. This is your trail. This is your thing to do. And he's like, I need you to start now because the future's got to be ready, and you've got to be ready when it gets there. And so basically, I was like, all right, cool. Walked into my parents' room. It was like 2 a.m. and I woke them up, and I actually turned the lights on. I was like, Michelle, Steven, hello. And and I was like, I've been called in the ministry. My mom started crying, and my dad said, "What the blankety blank are you talking about?" And that's definitely on par for both my parents. But and then ever since then, that's kind of how me and Tyler know each other. Is man, I jumped into anything and everything that included ministry. That meant random road trips to Mississippi, Kentucky, all like random states, just trying to man, I mean, there's not day one has been called a ministry. It's all been about student ministry because I think students change the world. I think obviously all people change the world, but I think there's nothing greater than students on fire. All that said, that's just kind of since 13 years old, that's been my drive and my passion.
That's awesome. You were known and loved in our
Quitman,
small
Mississippi.
town, Quitman, when you visited there and helped with Disciple Nows and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Like people still talk about you to this day.
I seriously, and I love like Quitman was such a. Quitman goes to show you, like in the whole church world, because it gets so caught up in numbers and all this and that. Like, what does performance or success looks like? Quitman's just a wonderful example. Like, it's about the people. It always boils down to that, and obviously we're on this because of sort of that experience. But yeah, it was awesome.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of people and connections and things like that, you guys did a really fun thing in the middle of a global pandemic. You took a call to the next church. It was
a big move.
Yeah, it's a big move in the middle of a pandemic. So just tell me a little bit about that experience, man. What's that been like for you guys?
Do you want me to take this, or should you?
Well, it was actually really hard.
Yeah.
Sure.
Surprising.
No.
I want to say probably the absolute hardest part for me was having to say goodbye to some people that we just fell in love with.
Yeah.
And not being able to do it in the most adequate way that we desired, but in the realization that God was using that to show those kids that we weren't it, that it's not us that sustains their faith. So that was almost a humbling experience, I think, for us to realize, it's okay if they're not okay, because then they have to lean on Jesus.
I would tell somebody preparing themselves to make a transition or a move in the middle of a pandemic. Every church is struggling. So if you're leaving because your church is struggling, that probably isn't the right reason. We left because we were called, not because of, A, B, or C. It was something like, man, we could have stayed there for a long time. We had built something really incredible and special. But like she said, it was preparing us. Like, we graduated 30-something seniors, and they were basically our children. Like, we walked in with them in ministry. They were there every Wednesday, every event we had, and we had to say goodbye with a drive-in senior service. I think the biggest thing it taught us about it is God's going to show up regardless. In Kentucky and Arkansas and he's sufficient enough for that. And honestly, like, our peace isn't in our talents and our abilities. It's our peace is found in the confidence in God. And that's kind of been what, man, because I tell my boss this now all the time. And you could ask Lane, I did not say yes to this church till like the very last moment. I kept pushing off, pushing off, pushing off, pushing off, pushing off. Because, man, it very much had to be God pressing the yes button 1,000 times over again. It's kind of like the whole Gideon thing, right? Well, if you can do this, show me the example, then I'll go. It's kind of like that thing. So it's probably been one of the more challenging things, but that just kind of shows you when you invest in a place where you're planted, where God's got you planted, He's going to provide and He's going to show the fruit in that. So yeah.
No, that's good. I love seeing your passion of that. I think I started following London, Kentucky's student page pretty early on in your time there.
Friend students, what up?
I stayed caught up with everything that was going on there. Never once did I step foot in a door there, but I knew what was happening in your student ministry because you apparently know the value of social media and students, and you do a great job of representing on there. As a matter of fact, I'd love to hear just some of your mindset in social media and student ministry because I feel like you are literally always on there. Every time I log on, there is something Tim is doing either on his personal or on his student pages. So, dude, tell me about it. What you got going on, man?
And what do I have going on? I'll tell you this, and the biggest thing that I think I do on my personal page, and I've been doing it for about 2 years now, is the random questions of the night.
Yes, I love your random questions.
Yeah, and so people ask, like, why, how, like, what does it matter? But I'll tell you something. Now people look forward to it. It might be few and far between them, but there are people out there. Man, why I really do it is, and obviously it has been amplified in social distant world that we live in. But I mean, I don't know if you guys have iPhones, but you see the screen time and an average student spends about 9 hours on their phone. And so reality is that's where they are. And if that's social media is probably, honestly, I know this is going to be crazy for some people, but it's the most personal thing to them. So that being said, I do random questions of the night because one, creates conversation. Two, it creates value in their life that they're being heard and seen, right? Even if it's like whatever my question was, what are you dressing for Halloween, or what's the one word you say when you're really excited, or whatever it might be, it creates an avenue where they know and that I care. I want to see and hear from them. But also I think it just provides an opportunity for me to reach those that I might not have been able to. It provides a wider net, per se. And best part about it, outside of student ministry in general, is it helps me connect with friends. I think we can all agree in ministry, we get a tunnel vision and we're really busy and we're doing all this. But I can just tell you, Tyler has done a lot of random questions on the night and has created little, not like long, super deep combos, but just something like, little, hey man, that was a great answer. Or like, really, you're thinking that, like you'd put that on a pizza or whatever. But it keeps the ability and keeps me continually investing into friendships without, feeling bad that I haven't made a call or did this or did that. So that's kind of why I kind of created that space for that reason, for sure. And I mean, I think you guys look around. I mean, Tyler, me and you have talked about this a lot, and just the value of the creating creative content and the value in connecting people through that venue. Like you talked about online groups before the pandemic, that wasn't a thing. And now we've played catch up all this way along. And now, man, some churches are trying to move back into normalcy. Man, there's no going back to what we were at. Yep. there's only the new. And that's not saying like there isn't value meeting together in person, because we love it. We're doing that, and that's awesome. But all that being said, if we don't embrace this online avenue that we messed up on or missed out on the first part of this, then where have we really grown? And we've lost we don't use the resources and tools that God has granted us in 2020. So that's what I try to do in our student ministry is, man, we're going to attack in the in-person experience, but also for those who can't be there, we're going to attack that social media and make it feel like you might not have stepped through, you may never step foot on a cross church Fayetteville, but you can be a part of it in the online way. So that's kind of what I try to do strategy-wise.
I love it. Preach, man. You are speaking my language.
That's
I
awesome.
live in that social media world for church. There's so much gold there. I don't know what to take away from it. So how about this? Lane, do you look forward to Tim's random questions of the night?
You know, when I talked about earlier how I don't really like sit still very well.
Sure.
So I'm like probably the polar opposite of Tim. Like I am not really on social media very much unless I'm like, hey, you know what? That's great for my podcast. I'll post that on Facebook. And I'll be posting for like maybe a month, and Tim's like, oh, we're going to post on Facebook right now. Like we're going back to that. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then I'll be done. So I really like, sometimes I'll respond with like a smart aleck response.
All smart aleck comments.
But for the most part, like I'll usually find something to do rather than sit on my phone.
No, I'm okay with that. That's good stuff.
But I mean, that's the good thing. I will say that for Tim and I, and this is what I tell our students too, like when you're looking for somebody to be with for the rest of your life, like find somebody who is so opposite of you that they make you more like Jesus on a daily basis. And so I just feel like we're just kind of polar opposites in a lot of what we do. But it makes us more like Jesus because we lean towards the middle of that. So
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's kind of like we all reflect the image of God, but we are all different. So us coming together kind of brings a little bit of a wholeness. Of course, we're not,
sure.
But you know, our differences can reflect Him even more as one. That was great. That was great, Lane. Great word there.
You know, I just wanted to drop a golden nugget in there.
You did.
He doesn't even share our posts.
I do sometimes.
I get onto my wife constantly. Like she'll be on her phone and I can see her scroll past one of our church's posts.
Virginia.
Did you like and share it?
Yes, exactly.
Virginia.
Okay. So I was in a habit of just scrolling past everybody's posts, but we've learned how it works now. I run a business and have to use social media. So I'm so thankful for all those likes and comments. So I get it now and I do my best. But I'm for social media. It's great to like get off of it and take a break from it. And like,
Yes.
I love, Lane, that you're like, you can't sit still and be on it. I love that too. But like you said, Tim, like we have it, let's like utilize it. This tool that the Lord has given us. It can be so negative, but we could make it positive. So let's do our best to like make it a place where people can come to know the Lord.
Man, Tim's making faces at Lane right now, but here, Lane.
Stop talking for 1 second. For 1 second, let me
Go for
speak.
it.
So, any student pastor wife out there, here's a tidbit. You can go and you can make their student ministry or the church a favorite of yours on Instagram. And on your watch, it will say, Cross Students Fayetteville just posted. Do you want to like it? And I go, yes. So I like every single post.
Good job.
Even without seeing them. That's good stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
That's trust.
2 comments for you. First of all, she's a grandma when it comes to that thing. So that's ultimately why she says that. Like, you should see it. Before she goes to bed, she's like scrolling Facebook, like grandma over here.
I had to ask him one time, how do people share the post on their stories?
Oh, my gosh. Second of all, and I like what Virginia said, a lot of things can take positive and negative turns. It's kind of, I forget where I read this, but it's just kind of like water, right? It can destroy towns, but at the same time, it can sustain people, right? We need water. It's just how it's positioned and placed. And so with social media, I think as long as the right guardrails and things are put around it, it can be a really positive thing. That's all I got.
That was good.
No, that was good stuff. All right. Well, part of this transition, you guys went from being it as far as the student ministry went. It was student minister and wife. And even though, Lane, you didn't carry the title that Tim carried, let's be honest, every spouse in ministry, you carry the title. That's just so real. So you guys went from leading a student ministry with, I assume, some volunteer help along the way. But now you're a part of a student ministry where you've actually got some people that are working alongside of you, Tim. And so tell me what that transition has been like. Has it been great? Has there been some hurdles in there? What's going on?
I would say it has been an adventure in the best way possible. I think it's helping us look more like Jesus, both of us. I think we both understood and had conversations beforehand that it was going to be different. Yeah, we did. Don't you can't see it, listeners, but she gave me a face. I think it's going to help us in the long run in where we are ministry wise. When we do whenever we do have children in 7 years and just all that. I just think it was. My wife is uber talented in almost everything that she does, and I think in her role at the previous stop, she did really well. But I think there was a cap of her. It limited what she could do for the church. Maybe for the student ministry, it was great. And obviously, like Tyler said, like she carried it most of the time. I was just kind of the face. But for now, what we need her in is so much more. And so this is giving her, man, she might not like that, but she's able to give so much more for the church and for her ministry outside of the church. And that's been a tough transition for both of us because we're so used and we understand each other and we can have those tough conversations. So that's changing, but ultimately I think it's really cool to see how God is positioning Lane for more influence and more of a voice here than she ever did in London, which is crazy because she had an awesome voice in London. But just the way that maybe she's not going to be as involved in student ministry as she was there, but in the whole scheme of things, like she's going to make such more of a kingdom impact now.
I'll just say this for me. It's a really hard transition for me. And I only say that out of the heart that, like, I love serving alongside of Tim. It's probably one of my favorite things to do in the entire world. But I think that there were so many great things about the position I had when we were in Kentucky, where I just had to do the admin and I had to make sure that an Excel sheet was done for the big retreat we were having the weekend, because Tim probably would have just had them come to a table, sign their names, and call it a day. But I loved doing that. I felt like I got to love and serve my husband in a way that, like, I felt like I was pretty good at. However, I think that I got so consumed with the admin role that the relational side of me shut down. And so right now I'm having to, like, rewire my brain to focus on the people at hand and not a job that needs to be done. And I think in that has just been very hard, because I think I found my value in what I was doing rather than finding my value in Jesus alone. And so I'm having to have some really hard conversations with the Lord about how, even if I don't get to be this piece that I want to be, like, God, you are still good. And even if I may not see what you have or what I influence or how I can be a piece of Tim's ministry, like, God, you are still good. And, something that, I spoke with my mom about in all of this, just, the struggle, because she's my best friend in all the world. And she just straight up looked at me, which is very normal for her. And she said, you know what, Lane, you were called to be Tim's wife way before you were called to be Tim's assistant. And so that has just like resonated in the back of my mind. But learning how to love Tim without having to serve him is a new way for us to learn marriage.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting too, like thinking about how you can love Tim without serving him in the ministry of students. And because you guys got married, tell us like the timeline of when you got married and y'all started your ministry in London.
Married, honeymoon, drive to Kentucky.
Yep, we started.
Okay. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
So your first part, like your first like years of marriage, are how many years are we now into your marriage? Not we, but y'all.
So many.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So the first like chunk of your marriage was in that role. So that's really interesting to think about that. And we all go through. I think we all go through something similar. Like for us, it would have looked completely different. But we all kind of go through those seasons where we just have to grow and evolve in the way that we love each other. And that anything that's external, whether it's jobs or children or circumstances, those are the things that are going to be a catalyst probably, but the love is always there. It just might evolve and grow deeper and stronger. Wow, that was really cheesy. I don't know where that came from.
I remember we were in Australia and we were literally always together. We spent like 23 hours together, and that's assuming we spent a collective hour in the bathroom apart from each other. Otherwise, it was even more than 23 hours. And so when we got back, that was an adjustment for us. I remember because you started working a little while before I did, and you came home one day and were like, I really miss just being with you all day. And I was like, I miss being with other humans as well. I'm stuck in a job. But also, I do miss you too, babe.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, yes, that's real. You definitely have to go through a big transition there from, like you said, kind of being in this admin role to being something completely different. And it's changing the way you're wired. So that's definitely difficult stuff. So you guys have transitioned. You've got some other people on the staff there with you. And then you ultimately had to make some connections with students when you got to a new place in a socially distant world. How did you do that?
Oh, not well. No. God, that is a great question. So, currently, like I said, we are meeting, but it's masks up that every student's 3 seats apart. We throw hand sanitizer in their face and cleanse them with holy water. All that being said, no, I think the biggest things that we've done is, I'm trying to even think. I think honestly, we've just given them spaces to speak into things at the beginning. Socially distant, of course, but we've allowed them to speak into what they want things to look like in this ministry. Obviously, they don't get, the final say, but, in the beginning of things. So it's been 1.5 years since the youth guy transitioned out here. So there was a lot of hurt. Not a lot of hurt, I guess hurt, but just a lot of abandonment. Struggle. Like, what are we doing? There's no vision. There's no leadership. So we just wanted to kind of come in and kind of help the healing process. I didn't want to shove truth so far down their throat that, right, like we know, they don't care what we know until they know that we care, right? So ultimately, we wanted to be sounding boards for them. So we came in and basically provided that. And then on the other side of it, I think that we provided just fun elements that we could kind of show them our personality. I would say like decently funny people. But I mean, as you know, right?
Was the decently for me?
Yes, snore here. You're hilarious. You know,
Okay.
yeah. But like, it's one of those things to communicate effectively. It's best to connect with them through stories, through jokes, whatever. So we really wanted to attack the front of how do we get them to know us the quickest. That kind of goes back to social media, but also like when we do meet, you know, we do a game. We don't do a handshake every week because COVID, but we do a leg shake. And wait,
whoa, pause. What's a leg
It's like a foot tap.
It's so back in London, I brought a student up and we did a handshake I'd make up. And
So he started Corona.
yeah, so I was the joke. It really didn't really. So just any of you guys know, right? When new leadership comes in and all this, it's a very hesitant movement, right?
Yes.
So we just wanted to hear them, provide them to speak into things, but also like we can have fun and laugh in church. And so we make funny videos, we do all that, but also like just be ourselves. What do you think we've done well in that
I think
area?
for me, where I've kind of had to like shift and mold in this is the realization that like those leaders who were not paid, who simply volunteered because they love students for a year and a half, I mean, invested and were not poured into maybe in the fullness that they probably needed to the amount they were pouring out.
Yeah.
And so I kind of told Tim, you know, and even his friend that works with him, I kind of told her, I was like, you know what, like, I want my role to be to love them. Like, let me take them to coffee. Let me buy their lunch. Like, let me visit them at work if they need to be loved on. And I think the realization that, like, if I can love on them, then they can love on our students. And that frees Tim to be able to just love the kids a little more.
Yeah, good.
Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work, you know what I'm saying?
Heard that one before. All right, so it takes a bunch of people to help you out in student ministry. So you got 60 seconds to convince somebody that they need to come and work with smelly teenagers. How do you make that happen?
I sit them down. I grab their hand gently.
In a COVID world?
Yes.
Okay.
On now.
Gently.
They're gone.
I would say this. Are you a church builder? Are you willing to go all in and all out to build the church of today? If that is you, person, this is the spot. No matter how small or big the job, you have a talent, you have an ability that a student needs your influence. Your story matters and it matters to them, but it doesn't matter when you're sitting on a couch at home on a Wednesday night. So make this your chance and opportunity to show people Jesus' love.
That was definitely more than 60
That was
seconds.
not more than 60
But
seconds.
leave it to a student pastor.
That was not more than 60 seconds.
Overtime.
That was
Always, 100%.
It was not 60 seconds.
All right, so I imagine Tim in like an Uncle Sam outfit right then because he kept and he was like, I need you. All right, so Ridiculous Tim aside, Lane, you've got 60 seconds to convince somebody to come and work in student ministry. Maybe the person that Tim just ran away, you now have to fix it. How do you convince them?
So I will steal this from our head pastor who said this 2 Sundays ago. If you can love someone, you can serve in student ministry, because a kid just needs to know that you're there. They don't have to know that you have all the answers, but just the fact that you get to walk alongside of them.
I said that in a more expansive way.
I don't know.
But should you always use more words when just a few?
It's kind of like Kevin on The Office.
I was 100% thinking that.
Yep. All of our minds went there.
All right. So it's like Kevin C. World, right?
I can't say.
And for all our non-Office fans listening to this podcast, that moment went right over your heads, and it's okay.
Is it okay? You probably need to go and watch it, please, people.
Yeah.
If you're friends with the Bulls, you need to go watch it.
Yeah, I did an interview on a church planter podcast. Got to the end, and it was the rapid fire question things, and he asked me about watching The Office, and he was like, "Man, I feel like I should always go watch it." He's like, "Maybe I just need to lock myself in a room." And I was like, "Dude, listen, if you need to lock yourself in a room, you call me, and I will hold the door shut, and we will binge it together. You should watch The Office."
I don't think we've watched it in a good couple months.
Mm.
Yeah, but you have to be you kind of have to have some time to binge a few episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've cut a few random ones on here and there, but we hadn't watched.
Yeah, we'll just pick a favorite. Oh, you remember that time, Angela sang the Drummer Boy song? Let's watch that episode.
Yes.
You remember the time in the very first episode they let you know that Dwight and Angela were together because he hummed the Drummer Boy song, and then later she's like, "My favorite song is the Little Drummer Boy." Boom.
Yes.
Because I've watched that show a lot. Man, how did we get on The Office?
Dude, The Hay King is one of my favorite episodes. But
Oh, yes. The Hay King.
All right. So, Lane, I'm so, interested in, and I'm loving, your passion that you have. Tim, you're cool, whatever. You love the kids, we know. But, Lane over here, your eyes just light up, your face shines when you talk about serving students. And I'm just curious, did you have an experience, in yours, as a youth, as a student, that compelled you to love students so much?
I actually didn't. I was probably that flaky kid that you're like, are you kidding me? Would you just come to church and stop coming every other Wednesday? Or just coming because your mom taught the Sunday school class? Yeah. I really I think what happened was when I did come back from El Salvador and I started serving in the ministry, there was one student, her name was Chloe, and we just kind of clicked and connected. And when I started to see her grow and understand the Lord, it was like an aha moment for me of wow, what a difference. It would have been for me had I had someone like that, that sought me out. Because honestly, I was just in Lane's world. I really didn't care what was going on, So not really. I mean, I was involved in student ministry, but it wasn't until my junior year of high school that I was like, you know what, Lord, I'm for it.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of people who serve in student ministry, whether it's volunteer or as a minister, they always have some sort of story. And it can go either way, but it's typically, I had someone in my life as a student who poured into me, and I want to be that for somebody else. Or on the other side, it's I didn't have that, and I feel like if I had, things would have been different. And God played things out the way, that they were supposed to be. But still, it's you can kind of come from both ways. And, students are so impressionable. But you guys have said this entire time, they just need to be shown that they are loved.
Yeah.
And this is what I think. If I were to walk into y'all's student ministry at your church, I think it would be the Disney World of all student ministries. Because you talking about how much you love Disney World and the excellence that they make you feel so known and loved and valued, I see that in what you guys are doing with your students. And I think that if I were a student, or if I was just walking in to observe, that I would get that same feeling of, wow, these guys love me, and they love me for some reason. And if they don't already know it, it's because the Lord loves them and loves loves you, and that's where it comes from. But I'm sure that's what they feel when they walk into the doors at your student ministry. So you guys are doing a great thing, and I just see it on your faces what God is doing through y'all over there in Arkansas.
I love it. What's the ice herders guy's name on Frozen?
Oh,
What's his name?
T.
You know, Anna or not?
Hans?
Hans, yeah. Right?
Oh, I was thinking the guy.
Prince Hans.
I thought you were talking about The Incredibles. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah, sorry, no.
Frozen.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I could see like an Anna and Hans kind of thing a little bit. You're maybe not quite as, what's the word, flighty as Anna can be. But anyway.
No, Hans is
Hans is the bad guy. It's Kristoff.
It's Kristoff. It's Kristoff.
Kristoff. There we
Okay.
go. I knew Hans felt wrong.
We obviously.
Yeah, I'm a huge Frozen fan, clearly. Clearly.
Anna and Kristoff. Yes.
Kristoff. That's who I've got in my mind. There we go. We lost people over Frozen. I'm sorry that I don't know Frozen well enough. Anyway, so last question for you guys. What's messy in your life that you're loving?
What's messy in our life?
Yes, that you're loving.
Oh my goodness! What don't we?
What's not messy?
What don't we love right now? I'll let you go. I feel like we should be eating hot wings. It's just kind of like hot ones, you know?
Yeah, a little bit.
It should be like sweating.
Can you define messy for me? Like,
No, you define messy.
Mm.
That's the fun of it. What's messy? Whatever you want it to be.
I think the messiest part for us is trying to find time together. Just because, with there not being someone for a year and a half, and you have COVID, and Tim's very passionate about doing things well, that he goes 100% all the time. And so I think the messy part for us is when we have to have the conversations of, hey, I miss you, let's sit for a moment. But I'm loving it because the other night, and I think I've shared with you with you guys as well, but the other night, I think I just looked at Tim and I was like, man, I miss you. That's kind of like my key word of I need some time with you. And I mean, it was probably the first time in our marriage that he literally put his phone on the nightstand and we sat there for 2.5 hours just talking. And I don't think I have felt so loved than in that moment when he heard me.
That's awesome.
I just think if 2020 has shown me anything, control just isn't anything that we've ever had. And it is a beautiful thing. I would not say this all the time because more times than not I'm frustrated with that. But it really does feel like, when you're trying to drive a ship and you're just trying to pull it a certain way and the storm will not let you go there. And it's like, man, I told students and I told our leaders this, we've just got to let go sometimes. And, we hate it because it's our pride and our trying to mold it the way that we want it to mold it. But like I told our students last night, the clay is only valuable when it's molded by the right hands for the right purpose. And if there is anything that 2020 has done, it is we're going to get molded in the way that God wants us to, like it or not. Be still, know that I am God, because guess what? You're about to be still now, right? And man, it's just something to love about it. We've never been in control. And so just the spontaneity of what every week is going to bring, right? Ministry, life, work, whatever it might be, there will be curveballs, and curveballs are coming and you're going to swing and miss. But it is only then when failure is known as not this science, but ultimately an art, and understanding that you are going to fail. But that's the perfect part, because then you're going to understand, man, you know what? I'm going to wake up the next day and I'm going to try again, because guess what? God is still good and we're still in this messy life together. So that is what I have been loving, the messy part of life.
It's good stuff. Appreciate you preaching it to me there, man.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got tonight.
Good.
Oh, we love talking with you guys. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your life with us and with our listeners, and telling us what's going on in your messy life and what you love about it.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. All right, so this is the part where I tell you what I need you to do for me. That's hit subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Hit subscribe. Make sure you give us a rating, give us a review, tell people how much you love listening to Tim and Lane, and we might think about having them back on in the future. Like them, let us know that too. If we won't, it's whatever you're feeling. No, man, subscribe, rate, review, tell all your friends about us. Thank you so much for joining us on this podcasting journey and in our messy lives. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you again soon.